What's the first one?
35,000 people are yet to collect their COVID care cash. So months after the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service disbursed sums under its CARE program for people who were hit hard by this pandemic, there are 35,000 Jamaicans who are yet to collect the money from banks and remittance companies. This apparently has left the ministry officials perplexed as to why these folks have not turned up to access this money. Of the allocation made by the ministry under this program, 25,000 persons have not collected from the banks, while 10,000 applicants have yet to collect their money from remittance companies.
That is strange, though. Eh? Do you have any idea how much money it is?
I think it's $10,000.
Well, that's strange. Why would they not collect it?
Well, you know, maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe they don't know it's there. Maybe people don't know how to access it. Maybe they don't have the right information for it.
You have to apply for this, right? Or no?
I'm not quite sure how they disbursed it and what the criteria would have been.
Richard was suggesting that it might also be incorrect banking information. So,
I mean, I remember when it just started, there were all sorts of issues with people turning up at the wrong places, and so it's probably just a little more of that. And then this young lady who's speaking now says, sometimes a teenager who completed application for them is not able to collect because they can't collect for their grandparents. So there are some people who can't physically go. You can't send somebody to collect it. So it's a problem. But I wonder now how they're going to reach out to those 35,000 people to let them know the money is still there.
this one says...
Formal ID. Some people don't have formal ID.
Yeah, and it says there's a large segment of the population that doesn't even know the correct spelling of their first name.
So I heard some of that too. There were
Yes,
people who couldn't sign their names, couldn't fill out the forms.
Yeah.
So there's a host of issues. Anyway, they're looking to spend $15 billion on this program by the end of October. 600,000 persons have already benefited. So I don't know if there's a way, guys, for you to check with your bank or check with the remittance company to see if
And you would be told is which bank and where to go and stuff.
Yeah, that information is usually given out. I know the remittance companies did that for sure. They told them, you know, A to Z, last name, come on this day during this time. So
because 10 grand now is plenty money for plenty people.
Of course.
You're not earning anything
Can
at
make
all.
a difference.
Headline says that new COVID ward at Cornwall Regional as cases mount. So Dr. Marcia Johnson Campbell, who's the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the parish, said that the ward would accommodate 24 beds. She said that 4-bed isolation unit has now been completed in a section of the Accident and Emergency Department. And of course, as of Wednesday, we had 7,171 infections, 126 deaths. That went up, I think, by 2 yesterday, I think, the deaths, unfortunately. COVID cases include 18 at the Teleperformance Call Center in Montego Bay just this week. So 545 COVID cases in St. James.
Call center.
Yeah. But apparently I read that they're going to reopen it, apparently. I saw that either yesterday or...
Which one?
The same one in Montego Bay, apparently. I read it somewhere where they said they're going to reopen it, I think. Yeah, it says the mayor says the public health department has carried out necessary measures to isolate the known cases at the call center and for the building to be sanitized. Oh. Folks, wear the masks. Wash your hands. Sanitize. Next one.
The Minister of Health and Wellness is saying that plans are in place to undertake improvement work on the Noel Holmes Hospital that's in Hanover, which will result in the reopening of the operating theatre there. That theatre has been closed for about 30 years. Minister says they're looking at it now with a renewed mandate and plan ahead to try and get that done, and that the operating theatre is a priority right now as part of plans moving forward. Various organizations and the general public have been making calls for the theatre to be put back in operation, and the absence of the theatre was again apparently brought up with the death of a 25-year-old pregnant woman who was admitted to the hospital on September 24. She went into sudden cardiac arrest last week Monday, and efforts to resuscitate her failed. Board chairman for the hospital, Elaine Harvey, has said he last saw a drawing for the proposed repairs to the theatre about 3 years ago, which at that time was estimated to cost about $40 million. Electrical work on the theatre started in January of this year. So they're saying, no, it's just looking to the other aspects and work on getting those up and running. So that's good.
Operated theatre closed for 30 years. What? Well, better late than never.
I guess.
30 years.
For sure.
Indicom reports a 25% rise in killings by security forces. And they say the Susan Bogle probe is inconclusive because they can't ascertain just yet whether she was killed by one of the security members. So they say 84 Jamaicans were killed by members of the security forces up to the end of September, which is a 25% increase over the same period in 2019. That's a lot.
That's worrying.
Yep, that's a lot. Data shows that in the last 2 months, there has been a noticeable spike in the number of fatal shootings involving the JCF and the JDF. I quote, "We have observed a greater police and JDF engagement in countering armed criminals, brazenly committing armed robberies, and persons being shot in front of them, and gunmen being intercepted." He says, turning to the case of Susan Bogle, who was a disabled woman reportedly shot dead in a police military operation in August Town. Again, I quote, "The injuries to Miss Bogle was indicative of being struck by a high-caliber, high-velocity weapon. But at this time, it is not appropriate to ascribe the injury to Bogle to the security forces. We can't say if they did or did not. What we do know is that the firearm casings said there were other weapons present."
So they don't know if it was the security forces
Right,
or a gunman's bullet.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
They said between 2017 and 2019, the JDF was engaged in confrontations that resulted in 20 civilians killed. He said this year alone, they've been involved in 12 fatal shootings. And that is the outcome of another arm of the security forces patrolling the streets. And then up to September, 15 mentally ill persons were reportedly killed or injured by members of the security forces. 6 of them were shot, eventually died. He said that figure accounted for a 7% up from last year, October. That's sad for especially the mental. But I was watching this on news, and apparently a lot of these cases, these mentally ill people had weapons. You know?
Is it true?
Yeah, well, I know
That's
in
what
one
the report
case,
said.
yeah, they attacked a police officer with a knife or something like
Okay.
that, you know. So I guess if you have to defend yourself, but it's just quite sad.
Very sad.
That's
And
quite
for the
sad.
families too, who
Yeah.
have to, the family of Susan Bogle must be going through so much
Yeah.
right now.
Quite sad.
Just want to say good morning to the folks at, I don't know if it's JTB or the folks who are involved in tourism right now. I'm reading yesterday on social that two attractions in Jamaica have been nominated for the world's leading adventure tourist attraction 2020, and they are Dunn's River and Dolphin Cove.
Never been
It's
to
interesting.
Dolphin Cove.
I have.
You walked the falls, Dunn's River?
I have.
Yeah.
They do very slippery.
Yeah, I came home as a tourist once and I did it. That's the only time. But I think I reached about the middle and I did get afraid and we stopped.
And turn back?
I not turn back.
You just walk.
Go off to the
You
side.
just exit stage left.
We just go off to the side. But I've never been to Dolphin Cove.
Ah, boy, and so much controversy surrounding how a lot of Jamaicans feel about Dolphin Cove, but
Yeah,
anyway.
good stuff.